one of the most effective interventions you can find on the market, on the legal open market, to help manage inflammation, anxiety, improve sleep, and even potentially reduce your risk of cancer are cannabinoids. That's right. Cannabinoids now have mounting evidence that they produce some pretty incredible effects in the body. Here's the challenge. When you buy cannabinoid-based products like CBD oils, for example, or hemp oil products, they're not regulated, and oftentimes you're not getting efficacious doses. That being said, when you do find a good brand, this stuff has medicinal effective properties. It's pretty amazing stuff, especially now that we're looking at the science that's coming out. So this was something I read about a lot back in the day. Adam, you remember, this is how you and I first got, even before we started Mind Pump, you and I connected over this. I had a family member, someone very, very close to me. This was probably, I want to say 9 or 10 years ago now, who was battling terminal cancer. And it was terminal. The doctor told us it was terminal. It was this type of stomach cancer that had the survival rate was like 3%. And there was nothing available to help. So I scoured the internet for animal studies on anything that could potentially do anything at all. I was desperate. And I would stay up all night reading. And then I found research on cannabinoids. There was this one study that was done on rats with multiform glioblastoma. So I think it's a type of brain cancer. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And a Spanish researcher exposed the mice to high doses of cannabinoids, THC in particular, and their survival rate went through the roof. And this just, promoted all these other studies on cancer cells. And then I found an old study, 1974 government study on cannabis, where they were trying to link it to lung cancer. They actually halted the study because they saw that it might have a reverse effect. So we don't want this getting out.
Was it the 70s they stopped all this research?
Well, when it became, yes, when the war on drugs really kicked up, and they classified it as what's that? There's
Schedule 1?
Schedule 1, yeah. It was so almost impossible to study for anything other than its potential negative effects, right? So it was impossible. But it's pretty remarkable. And so as I went down this rabbit hole trying to help my family member and all that, I learned about the endocannabinoid system. That's our body's natural cannabinoid system. So we produce cannabinoids that are similar to the ones found in the hemp plant or for example, the marijuana plant. And we have these receptors that cannabinoids attach to that are some of the most abundant receptors in the body. They're everywhere. And then I started learning about their function. And one of the functions of these receptors is to produce balance, homeostasis. I've heard it being compared to like a dimmer on a light switch. So you'll see studies where people have an immune system that's overactive and it helps bring it down. And then other studies where people have an underactive immune system where it brings it up. It doesn't block inflammation like NSAIDs do. And there's some negative effects of that, right? If you take too many NSAIDs, joints start to break down, muscle recovery slows down. You actually start to see injury risk increase because you need some inflammation as a signaling process. But it doesn't block inflammation. It modulates it. It just makes it more balanced and appropriate. Same thing with sleep and anxiety and all these other things. So really remarkable stuff. And you can, THC is the most, widely known cannabinoid. That's the one that is abused, that has these kind of effects on our psyche. There may be some benefits there, but it's all these other cannabinoids that don't make you high that have also some pretty incredible. So you can literally use these cannabinoids, not get high, be totally fine, maybe just feel more relaxed or a little bit better, but get all these pretty amazing benefits.
Now, how do you reconcile, the point where there was hardly any studies around this, and then all of a sudden it becomes popular, and now tons of stuff is getting researched around this, and there's tons of advertising and marketing around all these different benefits it does. How do you sift through all the different things that it supposedly can do for our body that's positive, and know what to take is that's of real value right there? Because this is the hard part about our space, is that we tend to do this. We've done this with branched chain amino acids. I've seen it done with creatine. I've seen it done with protein powders. I've seen it done with anything that shows that it has some weight. There's some value there. And then as soon as the market recognizes that it is marketable,
They go crazy.
And they go crazy.
Yeah.
And then so how do you, as somebody who loves to read all the research and stuff on all these things, sift through that and go like, okay, yeah, it does that, but it's like, you know, I'm not going to take it for those reasons, because let's be honest.
No, you're right, because you had, you know, CBD shampoo, CBD infused socks, like just
toothpaste.
I mean, it just got, and then on top of it, because it's an unregulated space, does it have CBD? Does it not? What about the other cannabinoids? Probably not. There's like this wide range of products on the market where you could take something, and here's what happens oftentimes with what things like you're saying, Adam, is they'll be like, oh, this really works. But then the market is flooded with a bunch of fake stuff. People try it, they're like, it never worked for me.
Right.
It doesn't work. But to your question, there's a couple things that I look at. One is when there's something new and there just isn't a lot of studies behind it. First, I look at old anecdote. Like, okay, what have people been saying for a long time? And then can I find any studies to support this at all?
Are there cultures that have implemented this for, you know, hundreds of years?
Yeah. So like cannabinoids for, you know, culturally in different populations, anecdotally has been widely used for what? Anxiety, sleep, and pain. Those are the most common. Appetite and also appetite stimulation in some cases.
Throw creativity in there.
Yeah, well, and then yeah, there's lots of anecdote with creativity, right? Some people will say it makes them more creative. So I would go there, and then I would look at studies to kind of support that. But then if I'm just looking at studies, I want to see, do we have more than one study supporting the same thing? Do we understand the mechanisms? And then let's take it from there. But the things that I just listed, like pain modulation, we have a lot of evidence now to show that it probably, these cannabinoids probably help quite a bit through the way that we experience pain, which is interesting. It's different than your traditional painkiller. So it's like you use cannabinoids and you get like this strong painkiller effect. You just tend to notice the pain less. And in combination with painkillers, for example, there's some studies that show that people that use cannabinoids, non-THC cannabinoids, along with opiates, use less opiates, and they get the same, kind of benefit. Sleep, anxiety, it's got anxiolytic effects. There's a lot of evidence that's showing stuff like that. And then there's some interesting stuff that's out there. Like there's a lot of cannabinoids, right? There's one called CBC. I think it's cannabichromene, I think is the full name. That has been shown in studies to stimulate the growth of brain cells, which is pretty cool. All of them have very interesting antibacterial properties. In fact, I think CBG has been shown to have what's that one bacterial infection you can get in your skin? Is it called MRSA? That you can get. It's like resistant to antibiotics, and it's really, really bad. They're examining it and looking at it because it seems to have this effect where it stops it, where it kills it. So, I mean, bone building effects in some studies. I think that and back in the day when I was reading about this, I ended up buying, there was a company that was researching CBD, and you couldn't even buy shares of it on the stock market. You had to buy what's called pink sheets.
Yeah.
Because it was so new and whatever. And I remember I bought $9 a share because I was reading all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be huge. And I eventually sold for like $150 a share.
Wow.
Because the research just keeps compiling.
What's so interesting to me about the research is that it's complementary to a lot of medicine and a lot of things that people are taking anyways. And so, like you said, like a dimmer sort of effect, like if you're getting too strong of a response, it'll help to kind of bring that down. If you're getting too low of a response, it'll kind of raise that up. And before that, it was like, what? You just had symptoms and you're trying to treat the symptoms with this like concentrated, pharmaceutical, which then you'd have the opposite effect of that if you have the side effects.
Right.
And so it's like, it's an interesting one that kind of wedges in between both of those. And I know like fungus and mushrooms kind of have an interesting adaptogenic kind of property to them as well. But it's one of those, you could just throw it on top of a cocktail of things and it doesn't seem to have
Is there a lot
negative
of
effect.
Eastern medicine like practitioners that utilize cannabis? Do you know? Are you familiar with that?
No. Cannabis would there's some history there, but Middle East is where you'll see certain things like the, what are they called? The Afghani strains.
Yeah.
They were native to those areas.
Well, in India, they had a bunch of gurus who would, I think, use it in spiritual practice.
What's funny is that because one of the cannabinoids got us high, THC, and really you have to heat it up in order for that to happen. That's why you light it. It's called decarboxylation. So you heat it up and then it becomes active. That's why you cook it or you smoke it. And of course, that's what got celebrated the most. Everything else got ignored. And then we ended up breeding the plants that have because what happens is all the cannabinoids have to, you can't have 100% of each cannabinoid. It's like a balance, right? Mm-hmm. And so we bump up the THC like crazy and it reduces all the other cannabinoids. So the cannabis, like the actual marijuana that people use now is been bred to just make you high.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go back 1,000
less
years,
the benefits.
Yeah, it would have been way more balanced and different.
Yeah, and you get more of the potential adverse effects from it. Which
Totally.
I think one of the best pieces of advice that you ever shared that I took and have applied, and of course, there's been times where I've been inconsistent and not, which helps me really measure oh wow, what a difference this makes. And that was simply bumping up the CBD with the THC. Because of that, we've bred these plants to be so high in THC. Mm-hmm. That's not how it was naturally found in nature. We've bred them to get to that point. And like we always tend to do with stuff like, oh, more is better, right? So let's push the limits. And I find if I smoke a really strong THC or eat a really strong THC strain and the CBD is low, I tend to get some of the adverse effects, headaches, insomnia. I have a hangover the next day. I don't feel the same way. If I just level that out, or like what I'll do is I'll take the Ned full spectrum. If I take a dropper full of that with me smoking one of the strains that I have that I know, it totally mitigates all that stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to communicate to people, because that's 100% true. In fact, there's studies that show the memory loss effects which are real from THC, right? Abuse of THC is not good. Let's just be clear. It's not good for your brain. It's not good for your body. It's got addictive properties like anything that can be real enjoyable. You can get withdrawal when you go off of it. So it's got classic potential properties for abuse. Although I mean, compare it to other substances, it's fairly safe compared to a lot of other commonly used substances like alcohol. But nonetheless, if you use CBD with it, studies will show that the memory loss effects become way less. You just don't get as much of that, I have that short-term, memory loss type of thing. But one thing I do want to say to people is people have been conditioned because the market has been flooded with so much garbage that if they're going to take a product that they're going to be like, well, I don't feel it, but I think it's working. No. If you use a real full spectrum hemp oil or hemp-based cannabinoid product, not THC. I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm talking about legal, okay? Legal cannabinoids. So the THC is so low that it's totally legal. You should still feel it. Now, you're not going to get high, but if you take it an hour or an hour and a half later, you should feel something. You should feel like, wow, I feel calmer.
Calming effect.
I feel better. I feel a little bit of euphoria. I'm kind of in a good mood. If you take something and you don't feel it, people are conditioned to be like, oh, it's because it's not psychoactive. Yeah, it's not psychoactive, but you should feel something. So if you take something and you don't feel it, either your dose is too low or more likely it's garbage. It's not the real deal. In fact, they've done, and this is just the supplement industry at large, they'll take supplements and they'll study them and find that 7 out of 10 of them are totally off what the label says. 7 out of 10. Yeah. I bet you if you took CBD products and you took a bunch of them and you tested
9
them,
out of 10.
I bet it would be most, if not all.
Right.
100%.
Well, at the very minimum, you'd find a bunch of other, crap in there too. I mean, you would see them pixie dusting. You would see them
Just be some oil in there or something.
Yeah, just the process to get it down to that too. You could do a really clean, good job, and then you could do a real bang up, shitty job to get to that point too. And if it's not being regulated, then why would you waste your time on all these other processes that make it, more pure and better? It's only you got to have some serious integrity in order to do that. And I think the price point normally reflects that, right? The people that are going through these extra steps to make sure that it's really, really good and top notch. They're getting it like either tested by a third party.
Yep.
They're going through multiple processes to get it down to the purest, cleanest source, throwing out anything that's not that, and then they're bringing that product to market. But then they're going to charge for it. What sucks is that when something like this happens, the market becomes incredibly competitive. And then what we end up doing is we start competing with price. And then you have people that'll be like, I could get that same thing for $15.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same thing.
And so it's just like, well, yeah, that's because they didn't get it tested. That's because they didn't go through all the purification process, like, or they're pixie dusting, or they doesn't even have any of the shit in there that it says it does. It's so, buyer beware. I think
Another thing to consider too is that, and the evidence on this is compiling, they call it the entourage effect with cannabinoids, where if you just use CBD, you get some of these benefits. If you just use another cannabinoid, you get some of the benefits. When you use them together, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 = 4. You get this multiplication effect. So whatever you use, you want to probably use something that's what's called full spectrum. That's got everything in it.
Do you remember that was one of the biggest things that you were all excited about when we first met the guys over at Ned was that wasn't popular yet.
No.
So when as soon as like any sort of information came out about CBD and it was legal to sell it and everything like that, everybody just jumped on the CBD bandwagon like right away. And I know you were always ahead of the curve because you had already been studying it yourself, and you're just like, no, it's better to be full spectrum. Dude. And Ned was one of the first companies out in the entire market that was going that direction with full spectrum.
They understood. So this was, how long has it been now? 7 years?
Close to that.
It's been a while.
About 6 years.
So I went, I gotta paint the context here, like paint the picture. Because somebody close to me was dying, I was obsessed with trying to find something that could help her. This was a very tough process. I'm an obsessive person anyway, but I literally for a year, all I did was read about things that could help. And then when I stumbled upon cannabinoids, I went as deep as I possibly could on it. So I'm not a researcher, not a scientist, but companies would come to us trying to work with them. We want to sell a CBD Pro. It was a hot thing on the market. And it was very disappointing talking to these people because I knew a lot more than them. I'd ask them a question about like, what kind of terpenes are you? And they'd be like, they wouldn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Or what about, CBN or CBG? They wouldn't even know what that was. So when Ned approached us, I remember I was super skeptical, and I'm like, at first I said, no, I don't want to work with any cannabinoid companies. They're all crap. And Adam's like, well, no, these guys might be different. Or what? I said, all right, let me get on the phone with these two guys and see what's going on. And they knew this was 7 years ago when nobody was talking about any of this stuff. Yeah. And we were going back and forth, and I'm like, oh, these guys are legit. They know their stuff. And look, I got half my family on Ned, half of them. And these are aunts, uncles, grandparents, my parents. Like they just want things like, pain. My dad's got arthritis and joint issues from working hard labor his whole life. He takes 1 or 2 of the capsules every single night.
Yeah.
And he's like, nothing's made me feel better consistently than this.
I believe that's what drew, was it Rhett, one of the owners to CBD and like researching it was somebody that was ill in his family, right?
Yes.
Was his mom or I don't remember exactly who, but yeah, it has this whole story behind that. And that was like the driving factor is finding something that actually had the right dosage and was concentrated with, cannabinoid to help.
Yep. No, they had a personal story behind it.
Yeah.
They got a farm. They're all like, these guys, they're legit. They're the most legit people that we found in this particular space. Sure. Anyway, interesting stuff, very interesting science for all you nerds out there. Read about the endocannabinoid system because there's more medicine and more applications to come.
Yep.
It's pretty cool stuff. All right, today's program giveaway is MAPS Aesthetic. Here's how you can win. Leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Also, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comments section. We're also running a sale on 2 workout programs, MAPS Anabolic and MAPS Split, both 50% off. If you're interested in that discount, just click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, here comes the rest of the show. Anyway.
So I had to bring something up because I heard you say, I don't know if we were on air or off air when we were talking about this, but I felt that it's something that I would normally tease you about or make fun of you, and I felt that I should admit that I've like been sucked into this too. Is that Katrina and I now have watched most of these Love Is Blind episodes from both the seasons.
What a shitty, addicting show.
So last night, You know, so we're speaking of cannabis, like that's the transition here, right? I'm smoking weed and I'm watching Love Is Blind with Katrina, and I'm going like, why do we like to watch this show? What
It's
is
such a shit show.
It's such a terrible show.
Bro, it's the worst of humans.
You know, and I mean, there's something about just the psychology of these people that are getting to know each other before they meet, and it just shows you what interesting creatures we are, right? Like 100%, there's something to be said about building and creating this non-superficial relationship, right? You can't see each other. It's no physical attraction. It's purely about
It's like authentic rapport.
right. Their character and their heart and their morals and their values and the things that they're into, because I can't see you. I'm literally just talking to you.
So we should probably explain what like the premise. So literally they're in these pods and they can't see each other and they just talk.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the process, I think it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a few weeks, but it's like power dating, right? So it's like every day, all day long.
Yes.
They're power dating like 20 different people.
And if you make a strong connection enough to want to propose, then you propose to someone. And then
Right. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And then, I think Katrina and I love to do is we love to predict before
Oh my God, that's what we do.
before it unfolds. It's like, oh no, that ain't happening.
Or like she's crazy.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, he's insecure.
Right. And now
a couple assholes. Bro.
the hard critique
apart all their
that I have about that show, and in fact for every reality show on television, and it's unfortunate because I think reality TV started off kind of cool, and then it's just really gone down the hill because it's turned into fame chasers, right?
Yes.
So like a show is pure on its first season a lot of times. Like I felt this way about Biggest Loser, I felt this way about Real World, I feel this way about Love Is Blind, where when it first is brand new and nobody even understands how the game is played or what's going to really happen, and you're watching it for the first time, I think you get the purest version of it. And then what ends up happening is a lot of these people just want attention. They go through the whole process to become famous online and TV and stuff like that.
They
And
just want to be on
They
the show.
peer into the formula of what's actually going to get them airtime. Like when,
Yes.
if I am to try to make this happen and get engaged and all that, that's going to be a story now that's more likely to make the cut.
100%.
Or just signing up in general. Like I'm a failed actor, or I want to be on TV. I'm gonna sign up for I'm gonna sign up for 4 reality shows.
That's right. In fact, there's
How
a
many
guy.
of them have
you know-
a relationship, too, like outside the show that they're coming on the show pretending?
So Katrina can't help herself when we watch these things. Like she goes and like she wants to find out where they're at now, right? So she'll go Google them and read all the gossip online about them or whatever. And like that one of the guys this is like his second or third like dating marriage reality show.
Okay, is it okay? Now this might be a sexist thing to say, but like, is that like a female thing? Because Courtney, like, as we're watching the show, they have to like look up all the bio and statistics of like the actors and actresses. I'm like, well, who cares? What
It is. Women are more. They're more social. They build communities. They communicate more. They want to know what's going on. That's the theory behind that is. They stayed behind and they built the village, while the guys were out.
It's
not
just
talking.
funny. It's exactly what
Yeah.
she did.
So Jessica will do the same. Yeah, there was that joke like the CIA should just hire a bunch of women. They'll find out everything.
Get all the
about
bios, dude. I got all the stats, dude. It's right here on the board.
what's going on.
Yeah. No, it's funny to watch. It's actually a little depressing though because of how few of them actually work out. They rarely ever work out. I think like every season so far, like
It's so hard to first of all, when we watch it, Jessica and I, so we watched it with my daughter. She's 13. And so before I put
what
it
does
on,
she think about it?
Well, before we put it on, I said to my daughter, I said, honey, I just want you to know that when we watch this
is
we
trash TV.
are the worst versions of ourselves as we're watching this. So you're gonna hear me say a lot of stuff. I'm gonna sound like whatever. I said, but it's pure garbage, and that's So we turn on
entertainment.
Yeah, so she jumps on board and does the same thing. And we just kind of have a lot of fun. And every once in a while, I check myself like, God, I'm being mean right now. Or, but it's so you have to let yourself fall into it. Otherwise, it's impossible to watch. Because first of all, who signs up for something like this to find a mate? Like
Right.
what kind of person does
Yeah.
that? So there's that self-selection bias. So you're gonna have like a bunch of narcissists, like weird people. Then on number 2, you fell in love over a 2-day period and you proposed. Like that's making a mockery out of marriage. Then you meet. And then, oh my God, we're still so in love. Then they all meet together, and almost every single one of them flirts with another person's like mate. And the cameras are recording.
That's where you're like, come on.
Jessica and I are watching. We're like, don't they know they're being recorded? Like, why would he? Like, everyone's gonna watch this after. I'm like, it's all fake.
So I'll play devil's advocate a little bit with that, right? So I think that there is some like, okay, how often do people in the real world swipe an app, pick somebody, go out to one date, hang out with them, and end up sleeping with them, or they hang out.
They don't get married.
Well, yeah, they don't get, but there's that process, the actual marriage process. Before they actually walk down the aisle, they spend the 14 days of hours and hours of communicating. Then they go on a 1 month, a 2-week honeymoon type of vacation. Then they go 30 days of living together, and then they have, I think, a wedding 6 months later. So it's not like literally.
Is it 6 months later? The marriage? No, I think the wedding's no.
Maybe not 6.
It's not even 30 days, bro. Remember when they're in the house? Remember there was an episode I just watched. They were in the house living together, and they met the parents. They had just met the parents of the other person.
Yeah.
They said, so when you guys getting married? First off, the parents didn't even know. So what kind of person doesn't tell their parents anything? Then the parents like, well, when you guys getting married? Oh, in 2 weeks. So it's not that long, dude. I think the whole process
is maybe a couple months.
Max.
Well, it's at least a couple months because they're 2 weeks in the pod, and I know for sure they have a house together for 30 days. So it's a minimum of 2 months.
You also notice that, first off,
you've seen crazier people get proposed to and married, and my point of playing devil's advocate is like, you got to give them some credit for that 14 days of power dating. I mean, hours and hours of uninterrupted one-on-one conversation. That's pure. There's no touching, sexual, anything. It's just talking, getting to know, taking notes. Like there's some interesting idea about that. Like, okay, like, if you really disciplined yourself to just peer into somebody's insides with no distraction of our sexual attraction, how deep and how much could I learn about somebody?
Yeah, but I think so. I think that's interesting, but I think the environment is so fake that you are.
I think it's tainted now.
Well, what I mean by fake is it's not the real world. I think if you took a bunch of people, you locked them in a situation, you said, you're not doing anything but this, you're going to find fake connections and you're going to fall in fake love. I really think more of that's going to happen, especially if you had alcohol. They're always drinking. You're all locked up. You're kind of like, I can't do anything else but this. So you're going to like, oh my God, I think I love this person. And, and then you're going to amplify these feelings because you're supposed to. Yeah. You're on this show. And then because you're probably insecure narcissist because you shine up.
I actually think
then you want the attention.
I actually think the experiment, if it wasn't a reality show, wouldn't be as flawed. It's flawed because it's a show, there's recordings, it's got a time frame, it's like people are going to get famous off of it. So that completely taints the test. If these people chose that
I think you just create a new dating app.
No, I mean, don't you agree though that like the idea of if everybody like was forced to get to know each other on a deep, intimate, personal level about character, values, morals before the physical intimacy part came in, that there would be probably a lot more successful relationships and marriage. Problem is because it's put on a show and there's cameras and there's people that have been doing these other shows and there's social media aspect to it. And there's this whole other, it completely taints the test. Like it's not a good study. It's not a true
because they keep referring to it as an experiment.
Yeah, exactly. And it would, and if it wasn't on television, it would be a really interesting experiment to say, what if we did take these people and they weren't on television, no one got any fame out of it, and we actually just controlled a group of 100 people and watched this over the course of 6 months, what would happen? I bet it would be more successful.
Pretty funny because there's been spin-offs of this concept. And,
there's lots of them.
There's one about like they would all wear these beast costumes.
Oh, I saw this one.
You see that?
It's so weird.
And so they had like 4 suitors or whatever. Like they would go on these like separate dates but they all had to wear
like
these
crazy
costumes. Yeah, like they look like a moose or
that's so Bud Light.
Yeah,
it's super Bud Light.
Pretty out there. So they were like deciding whoever had the best personality, and then they gelled with the best. And then at the end, they have to pick, and it's like, oh, this is so tough. I don't know, because like you have no idea what they look like. And then they take their mask off, and then they show you who you got rid of. And lots of the times, it's like the hottest one. They're like, no, they kick themselves.
So that's my favorite part is the part that I like, and I love to predict that like by looking and listening to these before they all meet. Of like Katrina and I will go like, oh no, watch when she sees that dude who she said no to.
Hey,
like
I'm sorry, dude, but inflections of voice and like I can kind of tell what type. I don't know. I feel like I'd have a pretty decent read on like their
I think so.
physical stature, like what kind of body they have.
You don't think you can do that?
Like
I
what ethnicity
I
they are. I would know all these
I
things.
did a lot of phone calls in
Yeah.
the gym business, and I remember, like, I vividly
pretty good at
remember,
picking
I
up on
talked to someone and be like,
voices.
that girl's going to be cute. Watch when she walks in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every time.
So, you know, there's-
So you could hear it. I think you could
So
hear it.
in studies, there is some truth to that. So they'll have men listen to voices and women listen to voices, and then rate attractiveness, and there is some accuracy. There's also some accuracy with smell. You know that women can take a T-shirt that a man wore, smell it, and with a greater than random, they can determine the attractiveness of the male based off of the
Really?
smell of the shirt.
Yeah.
So they
Really?
can smell it and be like, "Oh, I think this guy's gonna be attractive."
Yeah.
And they're actually right something like 70% of the time.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
based off the
interesting.
pheromones.
Yeah.
It's a big picture, right? I agree with you. I think it would be a better way to connect with people because if you look at marriage, the idea is you partner with someone and you decide we're going to do life forever together. At some point, like, I hate to break this to everybody, but you're not going to look
Feelings
the way you
are
do.
gonna go.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get old. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to look the way you do. Only thing that's left is all that stuff.
Whatever work you put in.
Yeah. So I agree with that, but I don't know.
I didn't know that. That's you got me thinking about that. That's a crazy concept that somebody could smell the
They
attractiveness of
can't.
somebody.
And did you know that they've done studies, right, where when a woman is talking to a man that she's attractive to, she'll subconsciously raise her voice just slightly above where it normally is, and a man will just slightly
Lower it down.
lower his voice.
Yes. Yeah, because of more of a booming, lower voice is attractive.
Yeah.
Right, ladies?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, voice is a
Versus
big one
like
for women.
Yeah, girls like,
Yeah.
the higher they go, we're like, oh, I'm paying
Really?
attention.
Yeah. So and without realizing it, like you talk to it. You ever watch movies where guys will do that?
No, that's
Where like
funny.
a guy talks to her, oh hey, how you doing?
Oh, hey, girl.
Yeah, we actually do that.
What's
a little bit subconsciously. Yeah, low voice signifies testosterone and virility.
I mean, I could definitely see guys posturing different, like when you talk to like a girl. Like all of a sudden you suck it in, you sit up.
Yeah, your chest up a
is
little higher,
shoulders are back. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden you get like this bigger posture when you're talking to some girl you're attracted to.
Did I tell you guys? I think I
Yep.
told you guys a story about the guy that hired somebody to fake mug him and this girl he was interested in so he could like fight him off and impress the girl. Did I tell you guys about this? Yeah, it was a dude that did that. I think it's brilliant, except shit will backfire one day. One day some real shit's going to happen. It's gonna get, oh, honey, we better get out of here. Beat him up like that other guy.
It's the wrong guy. Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyway, so AI, lots of talk around AI. We've talked about them quite a bit, and we've speculated on what industries AI was going to disrupt the most.
Yeah.
I have a prediction.
Okay.
On one industry, I think it's going to completely decimate,
Okay.
and there's already evidence that it's starting to happen.
I have one too.
So I just read an article on Reddit. So Reddit is like internet wasteland, right? You can read or see whatever forums for whoever, right? There's people selling on Reddit AI generated nudes. So they're not real people. They're naked AI, images.
Okay.
And people are paying for them and loving them. And then the comments are, I don't care if it's a real person or not. I'm not going to meet this person. I just like the nude or whatever. AI generated pornography is going to decimate the porn industry. It's going to kill it. It's going to crush it. When you can generate, something that's valued.
It's good for the porn industry because now you're getting rid of like the sex trafficking portion of it that they've been criticized so much about.
Dude, when it's indistinguishable from a human, and I was thinking about this. I don't remember someone sent us this article, so I was reading it. When your industry is valued purely for its visual stimulatory effects, like you don't care about anything else. It's the fact that I look at it and it's stimulatory or whatever, right? Like processed food. It's just like processed food. Then, and when AI can make indistinguishable, perfect looking or distorted or whatever your fantasy
Will we
is,
ever be able to though? So I mean, what a great transition in this conversation because we were just talking about how crazy that you could smell somebody and pick up if they're attractive.
Yeah.
You could hear their voice and notice the inflection of their voice. There's so many of these like senses that we have as humans that create this attraction to another human. Will AI ever be able to generate that fully to fool the human's ability to do that, or will there always be this kind of natural instinct that's so individualized for all of us that it won't ever quite replace? It could somewhat
Not on all levels. I mean, it'd take a really long time for like the physical version of that to be believable.
Yes. Yeah, in person, it'll take a little while. On a picture or a video, That's going to happen
Already
in
doctored.
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years, you're going to see video and pictures, and real actors and actresses are going to be done.
Okay,
Done.
so that's your theory on I don't think that will get disrupted.
Because it can be
first.
cheaper. The actors don't age. They're perfect looking. The scenes can be whatever the hell you want. It could fill every fan. Do weird. I mean, whatever like depraved anything that someone thinks of.
I mean,
it's going to be.
I guarantee there would be a good person to talk to this with it, because it's already in. Like, if you go to Pornhub, there's already a whole like AI or a whole like animated section and everything, and they already have like.
Yeah, but that's animated. This AI stuff looks like what they're selling from this article.
I know, but
what
what I'm saying is I'm speculating they probably already have some things that are similar and in the direction of what you're speculating right now. And I bet you that they could tell just by the increased of viewership and what's happening in there if that's actually a legitimate argument.
Well, it's a
pretty sure-
market, and that's what they're saying. They're saying that the market is showing that this is.
Yeah,
I've
okay,
seen OnlyFans sites where they have these like Instagram models that are already look just like a real person, but they're fake. They're completely AI generated, and they just exaggerate some of their features a bit more. Like it's like over the top, you know, but it's like still somewhat believable. So people are subscribing to that already, which is kind of a trip.
Yeah, like they were saying in this article that people are being catfished because people are making AI generated images, creating accounts, and people think it's a real person, but it's
Wow.
not. It's some dude that's running the account and making
Some
money.
nerdy engineer that writes
Bro,
code
listen,
really well.
Cheeto dust.
Hey,
and-
that's an industry that is so easy to disrupt if you just have something that looks better
So
than what's already there.
I definitely agree that it'll
Yeah.
be one of the industries that adopt all that stuff first. I mean, you go back to when we first started Mind Pump, and my uncle Casey, right, would always tell us, it's like, follow the porn industry.
Yeah.
They're always the first.
Dude,
leading the
Remember
charge
that?
on the internet.
Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
the innovators.
Yes,
that's right.
Don't you remember?
Tech,
we all
tech
died.
follows
we all-
them every time, right?
I mean, he's
Yeah.
right though.
Yeah.
He's right. I mean, they're always kind of on the front end of stuff, especially when it's fringe like this, to be the first to adopt it. So I don't disagree that it'll be one of the first to fully adopt, integrate, and use. Will it put all the porn stars out of business and stuff like that? I don't know if I subscribe to that. What I think is an industry that will be decimated first, or at least one of the first, is like TripAdvisory. So there is like, think about this right now. That's a huge market.
yeah,
People
that's an easy. That's a low hanging fruit.
low hanging fruit. Like you can already use this in an example. We were having that great conversation with Ben Greenfield that hasn't aired yet. And he talked about how he planned his trip. Like you can now use AI and go like, okay, I'm going here to here.
Yeah.
I want the cheapest tickets in economy for whatever you want. I want the cheapest tickets for this.
This
Fill
is what
in
I like.
all the
this is what I don't like.
specifics. of
Yeah,
where,
like
where
literally
you are, what you're doing.
lay out the specifics of your trip that you want. Give me where I go. Where am I going? What am I doing? How much? And like detailed out, like
Has all the data ready to go.
right out.
Yeah.
And so why would I need
Yeah.
a TripAdvisor ever again?
Yeah.
Have you seen the charts on the markets that they are predicting are going to be the first ones to get disrupted? Have you seen
No, I haven't.
them?
Where's education in that?
In the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Legal services.
Well, legal makes
was actually
perfect
at one of the
sense.
highest.
I do remember seeing that. You're right, because I mean, how hard? I mean, imagine how like what makes an incredible lawyer is the ability
all the laws.
to recall all the laws and cases, which is like an infinite amount of that. And so if you can
How mad would you be? You went to school for like years,
Yeah.
past the bar, and like you lose.
Oh, that's a really hard profession. to
yeah.
get to
Besides maybe
master.
trial law, like you know the stuff you typically make money on is like people asking questions and hiring you for this or for that, and then you just go on AI and it does it for you. Wow, that would be so disrupting
Brutal.
to that particular market. What was the other one? It was customer service. That was the number one that they think is going to be.
Sounds
I mean,
obvious.
we've already seen that. That's already been actually in the works with like the way these like automated like. I mean, you can go into a lot of websites and like type in a question. You're talking to a machine. You're not talking to a person on the other end, but it feels like you're talking to a real person. And so that's just getting more sophisticated, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
At
but that's
what
already
point
been
do we replace all the DMV people?
Yeah. Oh.
there. No, so you
We
named
can't
two.
because
They
it's-
never
You know,
will.
you know
That's
what?
government,
That's
dude.
right. You've named two things that are government
Yes,
involved.
and they
so
won't
those will be the
touch
last
it.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
those will
right.
be the last
That'll
ones.
just
You're
stay
right.
painfully.
School.
That's where I
DMV.
wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
Like selfishly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
let's change that right
No,
now.
Yeah.
that's unfortunately that's what won't happen.
You know what's
It'll
going to be really weird, because we can speculate all day on what AI is going to do and stuff, but you know what's going to be really weird? We already are so just generally the public at large has lost trust in authority and media, like up to levels that we haven't seen ever, I think.
Yeah.
When you start adding AI generated politicians and speeches and events that you can't tell,
Yeah.
I think it's all the power of video and audio is gone. No one's going to believe shit anymore. Just like when somebody sends an article, hey, check this article out that says this. And you're like, oh, that's CNN, fake news, or that's Fox, fake news. Now that already
Well,
happened.
he had a speech that was completely coherent sentence. That's fake.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
there's no way that's real.
There was a picture of the Pope wearing a white puffy
Oh, I
jacket.
saw that. I saw that.
And it spread like crazy. People thought it was real,
Yeah, I saw that.
but it wasn't real.
Yeah, I saw that.
So like, what's going to happen when think about like
There's all those Trump images of him getting like arrested. And
Yeah.
he's all tatted up.
Yeah,
He's
it
all
looks-
tatted up.
Oh no, that one where he's
Well,
all,
even the ones just the cops like.
Oh yeah,
arresting,
I showed you the
looks
one-
super real.
Yeah, but all the cops though look like from the
same
Matrix.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all
Oh,
look like
yeah,
just a little bit different versions of the same guy. It's like
like six fingers on one
Smith.
hand.
Yeah.
But at some
Smith.
point, dude, it's going to get weird. We're going to be like, what's
So
real?
okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Politics? Right. I actually think that this election we're going to see something come out that's really weird. Think about this.
Look,
Oh yeah.
there's the Pope right there.
God, look how good that looks.
Tell me that didn't look like a real
I would
picture.
have thought it was real.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's a pimp coat right
In
there.
5 years, do you know how crazy that's
I
going to
know
get?
look at the detail in the vein in his head and the wrinkles and expression. Like I mean,
Wow.
that's hard to tell. That's fake.
That's now.
yeah.
That's not in 5 years.
That's pretty crazy.
yeah.
right.
So you think this next election they're going to
This next election, I think,
For
and,
sure.
okay, think about this too. Like, you don't think we already have like AI stuff that could literally you could prompt it to go like, based off the polls, based off of what happened in the last election, based off of what the majority of people like, like literally write me a speech to hit all the perfect things.
Yes. Yes.
like that has to be happening already.
I've already thought of this, so I'm going to get crazy. Right? Let's go deep with this. I don't know if this will happen now, but at some point, because AI is going to be connected to, basically social media, internet at large, or it is connected. It'll be able to see and determine in real time social media posts, shares, clicks, essentially how people are reacting, responding
Yes.
in real time.
Yep, and then modify.
I believe the speech will start and it'll modify as it continues and goes on. This is working, go in that direction. This isn't working, back off, go this way. And literally, you're going to hear speeches that are going to tap into
Totally.
most people's psyche and be very, very powerful.
I 100.
extra convincing.
Extra convincing.
You just need a guy that can finish a sentence. Once you have somebody who can actually put a
Oh
full
my
complete
God.
sentence together, like that's all he's
Well,
gotta
let me
do.
ask you guys this: like, have you guys ever like?
media upgrade.
How many people have actually met and shook the hand of the president? Right, very few.
Yeah.
Could they theoretically create the perfect candidate from
Doesn't
start
exist.
to finish? Never exists, and nobody will ever know. And that's the leader of the country, and they're doing this and they're doing that and whatever.
Now you sound like a
God.
flat earther.
Stop.
Who really knows, dude? You know?
Stop.
Yeah, I know. That's
He's been a
trippy.
president for like a year, and you're like, have you ever met him? Like,
Yeah.
no, I haven't met him either.
Yeah.
He seems like a
You're
great
just
guy, though.
relying on all these other people to confirm it for you.
Yeah. Oh, look, they tried to assassinate him, but he survived. This guy's crazy.
Oh my god.
Wow. He saved that kid. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we saw with
He can fly.
the social media
that's what I heard.
platforms in the last basically 2 elections, I think we're gonna see a whole with AI integrated into this mix. I think we're gonna see. I don't even think I can guess what we're gonna see.
You know what?
We're gonna see something that
Yes.
we're gonna look back and go like, oh fuck,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
can do that.
Here's
Wow.
why. Here's why, by the way, for anybody who's thinking like, no. Okay.
If
What
you're
are
saying no, you're a fool. That's
You're
what I-
tripping.
yeah, you're
tripping.
You're
tripping.
tripping.
Here's
They-
why.
They're pressing all buttons.
All the motivators, everything that is pro that, there's everything in that list is huge. Corporations would want that because of their influence over government. Governments are going to want that. Anybody with influence or power is going to want a piece of that. Now think on the other side, zero. There's nothing that would oppose that except for the average person
Yeah.
who is very easy to manipulate to get them to
Yeah.
vote in a particular direction. So, all the incentives.
They don't think past what's right in front of their
Yeah,
face.
all the incentives are in that direction. So you better believe you're going to have the full power of money, influence, politics, government, corporations behind creating the perfect, political speech, candidate, slogan, narrative, AI generated, whatever. for sure. Everything's going in that direction.
Yeah, so I think-
to tell me it's not going to happen, it's just a matter of time.
So I think what I don't think will happen, to Justin's point of view, you sounding like a flat earther, is saying that we're going to have like this AI generated person. I don't think that'll happen. I think the parties, liberal or conservative, doesn't matter, right? Left or right, will find somebody, let's say like The Rock, who already has fame and is liked by millions and millions of people, and then basically groom them, which already kind of happens already.
Yeah, it'll be an actor, right? They can already follow us.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah, there's already some sort of like ranking system. It's already like calculating right
Yes.
now based on people's reactions
Yes.
of this person.
Yes.
Oh my God, you know what they're going to do?
You're going to get somebody
They're
like,
aggregating it right now.
like
for
The
sure.
Rock, who has got acting skills, is loved by millions of people, and then you're going to groom somebody like that.
Yeah.
And that's better than a politician when you think about it. Because
Totally.
we don't need you to know policy. We don't need you to know history. We don't need you to know
Well, it's already-
economics.
Reagan was an actor.
Yes.
It's already like that,
yeah.
though. Politicians are already just actors that are too ugly
Yeah,
to be on,
exactly.
TV.
It's a world stage, dude.
But now stretch that out further and further and further. Eventually, it won't be people. That's what I think. Eventually, it'll be a story that they created from scratch. Kid grew up in poverty, overcame this. Look at this. Here's all the
It's like
evidence.
the perfect,
It's like the perfect
hero's journey.
savior. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what's going to end up happening. You know what I was?
Totally.
You know what I was just thinking that could happen right now. Literally, you could literally use AI as it is to say, create for me a video, a 10-minute video of clips of so and so political candidate saying a bunch of things that sound racist or greedy or whatever, and it'll generate for you right there.
Yeah.
Or compile all the tweets that they said that were the most controversial tweets, and you're going to get all the information that normally you would need.
I mean,
a
think
bunch
about
of political
that.
advisors to research.
Think about how the process has gone now, where you're like guilty till proven innocent. Like for a lot of these charges, they can just like arrest you, throw you in. Now you have to prove that wasn't you. Like that wasn't me in that video. You don't have like the evidence doesn't hold up. But in the meantime, we could still throw you into court.
Oh,
I mean, this is just what it looks like is happening.
wow.
Sorry, I just grabbed it back. Yeah.
Screw you, man.
Oh man.
What are you pulling up
What are you
there,
pulling up
Andrew?
there, Andrew?
You remember the movie Ready Player One?
Yeah, I love that
All
movie.
right, so the main actor in that guy, right? You know the guy, the protagonist I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he created this company. Essentially, it's in beta mode right now, but you can swap out characters and people for people that recorded video of.
What?
Whoa.
Oh, that sucks.
What in the world?
So you could record a video with someone and just swap out the face and the
Exactly.
person. And this is beta?
You can animate the characters. You can make them real people.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
know what complements this?
There's
is
no way we're going to
is-
distinguish.
Is this the same guy who also created the software that does the voice change?
I don't know about that.
Because
but
the UI looks just like that. Have you seen that where Elon is talking on stage,
And then
and
it
while
sounds like
he's
someone else?
talking, it switches to Morgan Freeman, then Joe Biden, then Trump, then like he's having just like we're having a conversation, and literally while he's organically talking, the guy's got the software that's attached to the mic, and he's just dragging pictures of the actors, and then all of a sudden,
start
Elon
talking like
Musk
the different
sounds
actors?
just like Morgan Freeman.
Wow.
No stopping his cadence. Nothing is it's like all of a sudden switches to Morgan Freeman. It's
How
wild, dude.
bizarre.
You add that to this,
I still think Justin's theory that you came up with a while ago, I think you're on point, bro.
the Antichrist.
It's the Antichrist, bro.
I'm watching from afar, dude. It's all
It's
unfolding.
going to solve everybody's problems, unite the world.
I don't have an answer for how to combat it, but it's there. You know,
Pull the
I'm
plug.
paying attention. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Crazy stuff. Did you see, Justin, that the deepest, this is a long, I guess, I don't know if it's connected or whatever, but kind of interesting. Did you know that the deepest hole, I got to pull this up. Maybe Andrew can look it up. The deepest hole,
Sounds like your mom joke.
that's,
or- keep going.
damn.
Sorry.
Do you know who has
Did I just ruin the punchline?
No, it has nothing to do with your mom.
All right. Okay.
The deepest hole ever drilled. Maybe you can look this up. Russia drilled the deepest hole
sounding
ever.
more and
Right?
more like
Still-
it's sounding more and more like that joke.
Damn, bro.
Still there.
They just closed it off. They just topped it off and filled it with concrete. They stopped drilling, but they found a lot of interesting stuff. And there's all kinds of speculation as to there's like one theory, conspiracy theory, that they got
In
past,
Russia?
I don't know where they did it.
Okay.
But they got so deep that some people are saying that they heard like crazy creatures and stuff like
Predator
that.
and
They found
Alien.
stuff,
Isn't
and
that
they
what
were-
happened in Predator versus Alien?
No.
They were digging that huge hole.
Yeah, but it wasn't like this.
So this is kind of like along the Hollow Earth people,
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah.
ting, there's layers.
Yeah, how deep is it, Andrew? Did you pull it up?
12.3 kilometers deep. So here's a graphic kind of showing the difference
Yeah, look at that. Dude.
Okay,
compared to like Mount Everest, Mariana Trench.
so it's still speculated that it's like the molten lava core, right? Like this is all like in terms of the crust and like what kind of soil and everything is like underneath us. Like it's still like that's as deep as we've ever.
That's the
drilled,
deepest
right?
we've ever gone. I don't think
So-
they cracked through the crust.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That like that's why it's still kind of like you get conspiracy theorists that will add their own ideas in there because it's like not necessarily confirmed.
It's called the Kola Super Deep Borehole.
Is there nothing? Is there
They
no?
dubbed it the entrance to hell. That was
Wow.
Is there? There's no concern on you
Thanks.
guys' part of us like just digging a hole till we can't stop anymore. There's no concern.
Well,
I'm a little concerned.
It is
Yeah.
a little.
I mean, you ever seen how a wiffle ball flies through the air when you throw it? You say if you have a big ass hole in the earth like that, I feel like it'd throw off the trajectory.
Like you're not going
Throws us
straight.
out of
Yeah,
orbit.
You're not going straight.
yeah,
Oh.
dude. Like
We're like wonky all of a sudden.
No, it's-
That's what you mean?
No, bro.
There's no air in space, bro.
Oh man. Yeah.
Hey,
like
you,
it can't be a good
hey,
idea.
that's hey, you know
Or
that.
what
No, I
happens
just
if
think the demons will come
well,
out.
yeah, or there's a bunch of like also
Yeah, we unleash some kind of crazy creature.
Hey,
from
you know
the deep.
what's funny? You know what's funny about this is that like adult like men, especially scientists, they're basically just kids that are just smart and that have like
Yeah,
funds.
like we got big shovels, you guys.
Yeah, dude. Because when I was a kid,
Let's use
every
them.
boy, anybody's listening right, every boy at one point tried to dig the deepest hole
Dig
they
to
ever-
China.
Yeah, like I'm
Tell me that wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
we all wanted to dig to China when we were younger.
I tried to dig a deep ass hole. You stop once you get tired. You're like,
yeah. All right, I'm over it.
But it was let's see, 40,000 feet deep into the crust.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude.
the diameter is no wider
So-
than a dinner plate. That's because
And you said that didn't even go past the crust, then
No.
the top layer of the earth.
So how
So
much
and-
how much does a project like this cost?
Oh,
And what did we get out of it?
well, so the-
Like how many man hours? How many fucking shovels?
we're just burning
No, no,
money
no,
in
no
that hole,
shovel.
dude. What are you talking about?
hold on, shovels. That is a shovel.
Just fucking.
He's got a bunch of dudes with shovels. No, these are real, bro.
I mean, to build a drill bit that deep, you know what I'm saying? Like,
But why? Yeah, like what do you get? Are you mining resources?
Right.
Like you're just digging a hole?
They're just trying to see what's going on.
that's what I'm saying. How
They
much
get samples?
How,
to see.
give me the. There's got to be a price on this. There's got to be a name of this project. Figure out the cost of this project.
I don't know.
I mean, we're over here printing money and just fucking inflation.
Bro, trip off this.
Do people go in the hole?
Do you know what the
Like, hey,
temperatures got to at the bottom of the hole?
Oh, interesting. What's that?
356 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, drastically higher than their models predicted. So that's one of the reasons why they had to
Stop.
stop. They partially filled it with concrete, put a steel thing on top of it, and they got apparently some invaluable insights into the geology of the Earth. So surprisingly, this was cool. Deep rocks were found to be saturated with water, which was assumed to be impossible because the rocks were sealed beneath a layer of impermeable rock.
Wow.
They also discovered 14 species of fossilized microorganisms, not to mention deposits of gold, copper, and nickel. And then one urban legend is that the drill broke through a layer of rock and discovered a super hot cavern. Scientists went down and to like listen to what was going on with the microphone, and they heard hellish howls and tormented screams.
What? What?
It's an urban legend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus!
You're gonna believe that? We don't think dinosaurs are real.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah.
Stop saying that. I don't think dinosaurs are real. People are gonna start believing that.
Who was it? No, because what's
Just because I question them, bro. Come on.
yeah. The Hollow Earth people, they think that it's like not a Earth's core. It's like it's another sun. Like it's another sun within the core of
that's
the
an actual
Earth.
theory?
Yeah,
I mean-
it's a theory.
I mean, isn't that kind of a legitimate theory? If they got only that deep and they already got to 350 degrees? No.
What?
Didn't you just say that it was?
Yes, but the
Well,
way
it's like molten. I mean,
but the way gravity works, the
compressed
densest
molten lava.
Yeah, the densest materials will go to the center.
yeah,
is the theory, and that's probably
probably what. Yeah,
I'm
most
waiting-
likely.
I can't wait to hear what Adam's gonna say. Right his head's turning.
I don't know. I think you just filled
Carbon
it.
dating, dude.
Actually,
do we really need to go down
Actually,
here?
to help,
Yeah.
hey, to
Hey, don't get me on that carbon dating bullshit. Don't even get me started on that.
hey to support you.
we
though.
got it within a couple million years.
Hey, to
Real
su-
accurate.
Yeah.
Shut up. To support you though, this guy took hippopotamus skeleton and said, if archaeologists found this is what they think it would look like, and it looks way different than what a hippo.
Oh
looks like.
yeah.
Because the hippo's like this chubby animal.
Dude, these
but
are
they made
all
it look like it's
artistic
a-
renderings.
Yes, yes.
So that's the thing, and that's why all of a sudden they have like feathers now, and so again, they don't know exactly unless it's like a mammoth where you actually
Yeah.
get a frozen specimen,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, this is what they look like.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what-
So,
up for interpretation.
yes, yes.
I'm gonna change directions.
Yo, I gotta shift gears. We have to get over to our butcher box today, and I don't know if
That's what I was gonna ask you about.
Oh, so I don't. Did you guys see I did ribs the other day?
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
I got the smoker out before Easter because I had the brisket I was going to do. So I did some ribs. This is I want to say the 5th time now since we have partnered with Butcher Box that I didn't have my Butcher Box ribs and I had to go go to Costco or Safeway and get their ribs. And I'd say that I'd like to think that I'm pretty good at smoking ribs and have done it enough times that I've got it down. And I mean, the family liked the ribs, right? They're, oh, these are great, this and that. But me knowing what the ribs from Butcher Box taste, it is not even.
Are they pork or beef?
They're pork.
It's the heritage.
Oh
pork.
yeah, I would never compare beef ribs to pork
Yeah,
ribs.
yeah.
They were both baby back pork ribs.
It's heritage pork. I swear to God, the pork chops. I don't like pork, but the one from Butcher
He has a
Box.
distinctive flavor.
It's heritage.
Yeah.
It's called heritage pork. You can read up on it. It tastes.
It melts in your
Amazing.
mouth. It melts in your mouth.
Yes.
It's different. It's so. I mean, these ribs were good ribs. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, these are so good." And I'm like, "No, they're not." If you have not had the Butcher Box ones, it is a huge difference.
Yeah.
I would on my rib scale, I would have given the ones I just did a 7.5. And when I do the Butcher Box ribs, those things I can make those things 10s. So those come out and it's fall off the bone, melt in your mouth. It's not even the same. And I just can't figure out how to get any other ribs to taste close to that.
I want to find heritage pork somewhere else just to confirm that if that's what it is. I am not a fan of pork, but when I ate they make those chops or whatever, I don't know what they're called. They're like the cutlets.
yeah.
And we bought them, and they're delicious. It's got to be the type of pork. It's if they call it
it has to
heritage.
be.
I don't know a lot about it, but I definitely could taste.
Yeah, didn't you look it up? It's how they're fed, right? That's the difference.
It's the breed and how they're fed.
Oh, it's also the breed is
Yes,
different. Oh,
yes,
interesting.
yes, yes,
Okay, so yeah, I would love to track down maybe somebody I'm sure we have a listener who's probably got a line on some great pork somewhere. I would love to compare what somebody thinks is some of the best pork they've ever had and do the ribs and see if I can get them because to this day I still cannot cook any other brand of ribs to the level of the Butcher Box ribs. It's my favorite thing that they have and it's a staple that we keep in all our boxes.
All right, so you got one, Justin?
Yeah, I got one. So this guy actually makes these incredible signs, made us a mosaic sign of our logo for us. We're going to put it in the Park City place and kind of display it in our gym. Ted Munn's Mosaic Art is his name. So go check him out, support him. Does fantastic.
Did you see it, Sal?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Mosaic has like an LED behind
yeah,
it.
it looks dope.
Oh, cool.
yeah, really cool.
Check this out. Organifi is a company that makes plant-based supplements that help with wellness, health, athletic performance, fat loss, and muscle building. It's a great company. You got to check them out and get a massive discount by going through our link. Go to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com/mindpump. Use the code mindpump and get a massive 20% off. All right, here comes the rest of the show.
Our first caller is Ariel from Florida.
Ariel, how's it going? How can we help you?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
You got it.
So for 2 years, I did a full Ironman, and I did 2 Ironmans back to back. So I did one in 2020, and then I did one in 2021. And then during that time, I was working with Dr. Alex Harrison from RP. During the process, though, I lost a lot of body fat, but I wasn't lifting regularly, just here and there when I could fit it in. And so I stopped the endurance sports last year and I went back to lifting because I just miss being strong and lifting heavy. So I lifted in the gym for about 5 days a week last year, and I finally got my strength gains back. However, I've been missing a lot of CrossFit. So I've been missing the CrossFit classes, the running, the cycling, the swimming that I used to do. And I'd like to be able to train for a couple of half distance cycles, but I don't want to lose my muscle mass and strength that I've built up this past year again. So I have a nutrition coach and she's really great at what she does, but I think that she hasn't worked with any endurance athletes before. So I wanted to know if it's possible and what is the best way to maximize my nutrition regimen and the time that I'm spending lifting in the gym.
Okay. Well, first off, there's definitely ways you can mitigate some of what's going to happen, but you
It's inevitable.
are going to lose some muscle if you do train for endurance simultaneously with strength training, and especially if you throw in CrossFit classes. So there's going to be a give or take. Now, the ways that you mitigate it, generally speaking, are don't overtrain. It's going to be really easy to overtrain when you mix cardio, CrossFit with endurance training with strength training. Okay. So that's going to be really easy to do. So don't overtrain. Make sure you hit your protein targets and get good sleep. So that's general. But to be more specific, what's the most important out of all those things you just said? Is it CrossFit classes? Is it the half distance cycling race? Or is it going to be to keep the muscle? Let's rank them in order.
Okay. So my number one goal working with a nutrition coach is not performance at all. Actually, it's more aesthetic. So I want to lose body fat. But I want to be able to do each of those things at like a mediocre level, if that makes sense. So I'm not trying to be great at any one of those things. I just want to keep them in my life. And I do have these races coming up, which my cycling race is a 45-mile cycle in the mountains. So my goal would be to finish it at a relatively good pace.
Okay, but you need to rank. You need to rank. So aesthetics is number one.
Aesthetics is number one. Can I tell you a better strategy? Would be to since aesthetics is your number one focus, you should eat and train according to that goal, and then when you reach your aesthetic goal, train for whatever the hell you want. Because then that will be much easier. Because if I was training you and you told me that, I would say, okay, I know you love CrossFit, I know you love running, I know we're going to do that stuff. But since your number one priority is you want to get lean, you want to get ripped, you want to get fit, you want to see abs, whatever it is let's do that. I'm going to build your nutrition program and your lifting program based around that goal. Then we're going to hit it. And you're going to high five me and say, Adam, oh my God, I feel the best I've ever looked. This is amazing. Now I want to go after those other things. Now I'm going to feed your body and train you accordingly to those things. And you're going to look great and you're going to go kick ass at those things. But trying to do it all at once is not a good strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to manage doing all of that and trying to. You're
going to be okay at all of it.
And make aesthetics the number one goal. I mean, if you did all of it together, I would go. You would look at like 1 day a week of endurance training with 2 days a week of strength training, and maybe a CrossFit class thrown in there with good diet, and then you're going to get kind of a little of everything. But if aesthetics is number one, I would focus primarily on that, and then wait till you hit that goal. That's a hard enough goal by itself. Like, adding other stuff to it is like, oh my gosh, now we're really making things almost impossible. So, I mean, I agree with Adam. I think if that's the number one goal, there's nothing wrong with just focusing on that and doing that. And then when you get to your aesthetic goal, then you can play a little bit with the different types of training and gauge how much of each you can do based off of what type of aesthetics, you have and what you're losing from that type of training.
And by the way, on our way, if I was training you towards this, aesthetic goal, it doesn't mean that I can't include a little bit of running, cycling, and swimming in there. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to, I'm not training you for endurance on those sports. It's like, hey, you want to, so you know what?
This maintaining the skill of it. Really.
Yeah. It'd be like, hey, you know what I want you to do this week? This week, I want you to go for a nice swim, 45 minutes to an hour swim, do a swim. Next week, I'm going to have you do I would include these things that you love to do because as a client, I want to make you happy and enjoy that in you, since you've already expressed that. But your bulk of your nutrition and training is going to be focused on getting you the look that you want to obtain. And by training for endurance, for swimming and cycling and running, it is going to conflict with my training around aesthetics. So, but it doesn't mean that I can't include some of that stuff so you can have some fulfillment because you like it. Sounds like you like doing those things, and I could find a way to include it, but to be good at it because you're wanting to do it as a sport, right? And there's a difference between swimming like leisurely or cycling leisurely or, for cardio reasons for a little bit versus trying to be good at that thing. They're totally different.
Yeah, it'd be super challenging. I mean, I'm with you on that in terms of like those activities, being able to include that. If you were focused on aesthetics and you're working out with those workouts, and then in between you had like maybe some of those other things that you're into, like swimming, even some of the CrossFit work, like some of the exercises in there that, you know, require a little bit more skill and practice. If you could do that at a low, you know, to moderate intensity and just work on the skill of it, that's going to be very mentally challenging though, with somebody that I know is like, you know, they get into those events and those things for that like output, that high intensity output of it and the competitiveness of it. But if you were able to do that and be disciplined with it, like it actually would benefit you.
Look, Ariel, to give you something specific, because we're giving you some pretty good general advice, but to give you something specific, do you have any of our workout programs?
No,
Okay.
no, I didn't want to add one more thing to my plate, but I think
you wouldn't be adding anything, you'd be replacing. So here's what I'm going to do, okay? If you want to follow a program that's going to give you a little bit of all of this, then I'm going to send you MAPS Cardio, and you can follow it as it's laid out. And in there's a day set aside for you to be able to include your long distance cycling. Now, if you follow MAPS Cardio, you're not going to add anything else to it because that'll screw it up. Don't add CrossFit on top of it and a bunch of other stuff on top of it. Follow it as it's laid out. And in the program, we have designated days that you can implement your favorite form of cardiovascular activity. Those are the days you do your long distance cycling. Do that, and you'll have the best shot of getting a little bit of everything that you're looking for, along with working with your nutrition guidance.
okay.
Okay.
Since I do have this race, I've already signed up for it. Would you say just put the aesthetics on the back burner for now and just focus on doing the race?
Depends.
And then
If you're
go back.
committed to the race, yeah.
When
focus
is
on
the
that.
race again? When is it?
It's at the end of July.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, is it something you really want to do, or can you skip it?
Yeah, I really want to do it.
Yeah, then you know what? Then MAPS Cardio will let you train for that. Follow MAPS Cardio. In there is a day that you can throw your long distance running, and you'll get some good strength training that complements that type of performance that you're looking for. So follow MAPS Cardio leading up to it.
Okay.
Okay. That way you have something specific, because what I'm afraid is going to happen is you're going to leave, you're going to take all of our advice, and then you're going to try and mishmash your own stuff together. And then it's going to be detrimental.
It's a lot of competing signals. You're
Yeah,
not gonna
so
get very far
MAPS
with that.
Cardio, literally we wrote for people whose like main goal is athletic cardiovascular
we
type
wrote it
of
for
performance.
People, we wrote it for people like you. People
Yeah.
like you who love endurance cardio training, but then
But
also
they don't want to
have-
lose muscle.
But they have aesthetic goals too.
Yeah, so just follow that program leading up to. In fact, it sounds like about the right amount of time, right? We're in April. Follow that program. That should get you prepared for a decent performance for your event without sacrificing too much of aesthetics. If anything, you may gain some aesthetics.
I can get behind that.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
No problem. You know what so I got to remember when we hear questions like that, it can be frustrating because people they don't understand that you training for one thing and then training for another thing. It's not like you can stack them.
Yeah.
Oftentimes training for one thing means you're sacrificing something else. Like if I train for
Pulling
max
away from another thing.
yeah, if I train for max strength, I'm not going to have max stamina. If I train for max stamina, I'm not going to have max strength. If I train for max mobility, I'm not going to have. So there's always a give and take, and this is why if you look at the perfect type of program for someone lifelong, they cycle through different things. But to us, it's like somebody. Imagine if someone went to the average person and say, "Hey, look, check this out. Look, I'm getting married next week. I'm devoted to my wife, but I love going to strip clubs with my buddies and going out with other chicks. How can I do both?" You're like, you can't. You do one or the other.
Yeah, I still really love that visual of these avatars for for video games where
Yes.
it's like you're pouring in your energy, your power, and then you have to disperse it amongst all those skills.
That's
And It's
right.
like you don't get to just stack all these like skills that are completely different. You're going to be more powerful in one than the other, and so you just have to look at it as like what you're going to be sacrificing versus what you're going to be completely.
You know
focused on.
what the problem is too with this is that there are those crazy anomalies in the performance
Yes.
world.
Yeah, like
that
Bo
are-
Jackson.
like they're the top of the top in their sport, which we think for some reason that we're nothing like these people because they're such anomalies, and they are crazy at everything, and they are ripped, and they are muscular, and you think, well, I can definitely do that.
Yeah, I want that.
That is literally the 0.0001% of people in the world, and it's not because of their training; it's because of their genetics. The training plays a role, but it's their genetics. So for everybody else listening, the 99.9999%, if you have competing goals, oftentimes it's better to train for one and then another versus all at the same time. you often overtrain or you get none of what you're looking for.
Well, I think when you start to throw in aesthetics in that mix, it becomes incredibly difficult.
Aesthetics by itself is
it's the hardest of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the other ones are more physically demanding, but as far as understanding caloric balance and stress and frequency, intensity, volume, there's so many.
Eating is such a higher priority in aesthetics.
Understanding how to balance all that out, to manipulate the body to give you this look that you want is unbelievably difficult. So my suggestion for someone like this, and here's, by the way, too, there's some asshole coach that's listening to this that will probably talk to her and be like, I can do that for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then
just pay me.
let me show you, right? So it's like
$300 a month.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean it's not possible to get some of that stuff, but a much better approach to this would be, listen, you already told me that your number one goal is you want to achieve this look. So let's learn everything you need to learn about caloric balance and protein and macro stuff and strength training and let's sculpt the body you want, because that's fucking hard as shit by itself. Now that I've got you to understand that and you're where you want to be, now we can just feed the body correctly, giving it enough nutrients and calories to support this endurance training we're doing. And it's inevitable, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle, but because you sculpted and built the body you want before you go into that sport training, you're going to look the best you could have while training.
While doing that.
Yeah, while doing that.
Good point.
Yeah, so I just think that is the order of operation for somebody that says that they want this look. And I feel like that's your point about how we have these anomalies. Like everybody has seen that runner or that swimmer. They're like, God, I wish I had that.
They look like a bodybuilder too.
Yeah, they had this great physique. It's like, oh man, that's so not attainable for the average person. That person just is a genetic freak. They look amazing, and then they happen to be great at that sport too.
Right.
Our next caller is Andy from Pennsylvania.
What's up, man? How can we help you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for taking this time here to answer my questions here. I've actually spoken with Adam a couple times through the NCI coaching. So your business advice,
you.
But your business advice has been great. I've been focusing a lot on teaching more so than just trying to bring in clients. So it's been going well. So thank you.
Right on, man.
All right. So I'm going to I'll just read my question here. So thank you so much. I'm a coach and a trainer, and you guys have made me so much better. Not just from like the programs that you create, but from all the perspectives that you take in terms of like trying to understand, what clients are going through as well. And I really have learned a lot from that. And I need your guidance because I'm one of those trainers who I can take care of everybody but myself. So I'm struggling to lose weight right now. I want to lean out. I just can't seem to do it. I feel like something's missing. So here's a little summary. I work out and train 5 days a week. I'll usually do one day where I'll do like a metabolic conditioning type of workout. Then I'll do a day where I focus on a big lift, a bench press day, a deadlift day, a squat day, an overhead press day. At the end of those workouts, I'll do like a little mini circuit where I kind of focus on more, just get the heart rate up, kind of get a sweat going. Always a full body type circuit. Currently, I'm at 238 pounds. My goal is to get down to 190. I focus on protein and water. I take creatine, vitamin D3 and B12, probiotic. I am working with a dietitian and I am doing intermittent fasting. So I'm not sure if my training is wrong, if my diet is not matching my workouts, or my workouts aren't matching my diet. Am I overstressed? Bottom line is I'm lost and frustrated, and I need someone to ask me the questions that I'm not asking myself. So I appreciate your help.
Okay. Okay. I have an idea, but before I get there, how many calories what's your maintenance? Are you tracking how many calories you're consuming? What's your maintenance at?
I am tracking. My maintenance right now is about 2,500, a little more, a little less, depending on the day.
Okay. And what are you eating every day?
What do you mean by eating?
How many calories?
How many calories?
How many calories? Yeah. Are you in a deficit? Yeah.
Oh, am I? I am. No, I'm at maintenance right now. I'm sticking at maintenance.
Okay. So I don't think the problem is any of the stuff that you listed. I think you might be overthinking this. This is all diet. I don't think it's your workout. I think your workout could be better, but I don't think that's what's going to make this needle move that much.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah, I would. I mean, MAPS Anabolic would be a good program for you. I would try to get your metabolism to speed up a little bit before cutting. But this sounds to me a lot like your struggle really has more to do with your relationship to food than anything else. I think this is a diet issue. And just from what you're saying to me, how you're frustrated, you just can't get it to seem to work for you. You do better with your clients than you do for yourself. These are all the things that I hear from people who they have this struggle that they're challenged with themselves. And it's really the relationship to food. So I would guess you probably do really well most of the time. And then when you go off, you go way off with diet. And that's kind of what screws you up. Am I hitting the nail on the head?
You absolutely are.
Yeah. So this is a behavioral thing, Andy. This is not because you're a trainer and you're working with other people, your tendency is you're trying to reflect that on yourself and get into the details of what's going on. Am I overstressed? Is this but this is actually a pretty simple thing. You're just consuming too much more than you're burning, obviously. Now let's dig a little deeper. We got to look at the behavioral reasons as to why this is happening. Are you coming from a place of self-hate? Are you using food as a way to distract or self-medicate? What type of relationship do you have with that food? What does it feel like when the impulse comes to overeat? What's happening with you when that starts to happen? And this is going to be a slow, unwinding process. Now, if we're talking about like steps to take, this is not going to be huge steps. These are going to be very, very small steps that you're going to take one at a time. So it may look like this. You may be like, okay, I notice that when I go off, like when I go real off, these are the feelings that I have when that happens. It tends to happen when I'm overstressed or tired or whatever, okay? Now what I'm going to do when those feelings arise, first off, I'm going to try and identify them. And when I do, I want you to find a way to create a barrier between you and the impulse of eating. So fill in the blank. It could be, I'm going to write for 30 minutes about what I'm feeling. After that, then I'll eat whatever I want. Or I'm going to go for an hour walk and just really think about how I feel. And then after that, I'll eat whatever I want or whatever. You're not saying you're not going to engage in the behavior that you normally engage in, but you're going to create a barrier between you and that impulse. This is going to be very uncomfortable, but it's going to allow you to interrupt that impulse that's causing you to go off when you go off, and then afterwards feel the shame, and then afterwards become super strict because the shame motivates you, and then get sick of the shame, and then the shame becomes overwhelming, and then now I'm going to feed myself and numb these feelings type of deal, which is a very common cycle. But you have to interrupt that process with some kind of barrier between you and that behavior. I do recommend you working with somebody who will work specifically with this with you. So one thing you can do, Andy, I don't know if your dietitian will do this for you or if they're just about giving you foods and calories to follow. If they're that kind of dietitian where they're just like, here's what you're going to eat, you're working with NCI, right?
I am, yeah.
Okay. NCI, in my opinion, has some of the best coaches and trainers in this regard. I would reach out to some of your peers in the space and say, hey, and be very vulnerable. Hey, here's the deal. I have this trouble and challenge. Can I hire you? Can I work with you to work with me on this specifically? Because I don't think, and I'm giving you advice right now, but it's going to be really hard to do without that person that you can reach out to and work with on a consistent, because you're going to stumble. Okay, I'm going to tell you that you're going to stumble if you attempt to do this, but having that coach is going to make all the difference in the world. Now, the beauty of this is on the other end of this, Andy, is a coach, I'm talking about you, that is going to be exceptional at working with people like yourself, which is almost everybody, which is most people. So on the other end of this, when you make it through this and you really start to figure this out for yourself in that process, number one, it's going to create great content because you're going to be able to put it out there, communicate vulnerably and honestly. You're going to be able to coach people better and you're going to be super effective at what you do. But I do recommend you work with somebody through this period.
I have two questions. One, do you know how many steps you're taking a day?
Yes. So I'm around. I'm not taking a lot of steps. That's definitely one of those things that I have taken into consideration. It's between 5,000 and 7,000 a day.
Okay, that's not horrible though either, bro. That's not too bad. I've seen a lot worse than that. The average American's like 3,500. So
Yeah, I take less than that right now.
yeah. So that's not horrible. I just, because I was kind of figuring out like how far off you are from like a healthier maintenance level. Like for your size, I'd like you to be closer to 3,000, 3,200 or something like that as a maintenance than 2,500.
Okay.
But if you're not moving hardly at all, that's not necessarily too far off. So you're not in that bad of a position metabolically. I think with a focus on, like Sal said, with anabolic and adding to build some muscle, I think you could see an increase in your metabolism. The second question I had is why intermittent fasting?
So that was when I started working with the dietitian. So last year when I got a physical done, I had higher cholesterol, and my doctor recommended through his practice working with the dietitian, and I connected with her, and I think she's great as far as what the things that Sal, that you were saying. I don't know if she does that stuff or not. I've never actually spoken to those things to her about that. It's been more along the lines of like eating practices, intermittent fasting, lowering the calories, eating better, making better food choices, things like that. Not necessarily the behavioral stuff.
And
Yeah, I don't like her putting you on it. I'm really curious to why she would do that. I'm not a fan of you intermittent fasting. If you already admitted to Sal that you do really well nutritionally, and then you kind of have these off the wagon moments where
intermittent fasting is wrong.
and intermittent fasting, I think just it promotes that.
It's going to perpetuate that behavior.
Yeah.
and
Well,
strengthen it within you.
I will totally agree with you on that. And I'm not an emotional guy, but this is like throwing me off because you hit it so hard that it's just like shaking me a little bit. And that's exactly what I'm doing is I put so many restrictions on myself, and then I'll slip. And then when I do, I just like, I beat the shit out of myself.
Yeah.
And I come from I'm a recovering alcoholic. So those behaviors are there. They're ingrained in me.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so now I can fight the addiction type of stuff, but I still have the stuff with the food addiction and the other
And
things there. So it's like,
And here's the reason why I was able to hit those buttons with you after talking to you for 30 seconds. It's very common.
Mm-hmm.
It's very common. I've worked with a lot of people who've struggled with this, and I've had a lot of success. But it's going to be a challenge. If you've already beat alcohol, you're going to be able to do this too. Okay. And the things that helped you beat alcohol are going to be similar to the things that are going to help you with your relationship to food. Now, I got to ask you this before I tell you to not work with this dietitian anymore. Are you, was this like, are you on medication? Was this like doctors like, you got to work with this person? Or was this more like advice?
it was more advice. Yeah, no, I'm not on any medication for anything.
And I want you to reach out to your group in NCI.
Okay.
And find a coach there that can work with this stuff with you, because just through the, you know this, you go through the program, you know that that there's some good people that are excellent at this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you have the extra funds and time, another person you could hire that would be profoundly helpful would be a therapist.
I am working with a therapist on my, because I also have some depression and anxiety stuff.
Okay.
So I'm working on that. I have a therapist there.
Oh, wonderful. I want you to include them in this process if you haven't already. And maybe bring to them and say, hey, look, I've identified that I'm abusing food, in the ways that, in similar ways to how I used to abuse other substances. I have this relationship with food that's complex, and I want to work on that. And then work with your therapist through that. If you work with a therapist and an NCI coach, you're going to have really, really good chances of success. And here's what I'm going to help you. I'm going to help give you the motivation you're going to need, okay? I'm assuming you became a trainer because you have a passion for fitness and you have a passion for helping people.
Correct.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do right now, because I'm going to tell you to love yourself, but that's going to go in one ear out the other. So I want you to do this so that you can be the best coach and trainer for your clients. Okay? Now, here's the kicker. The only way to do that is to start caring for yourself the same way you care for them. Okay? Use that as your motivation. I think you'll do okay. And
Okay.
Andy, can I put you in our private forum if you're not in there? I want to follow up with you and see how you're doing through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not in the forum. That'd be great.
All right. Are we going to see you at the event, by the way, in Phoenix? Are you going?
I am not going. Not this year, but hopefully next year.
Okay. Next event, I want you to come give us a handshake or a hug. I want to meet you.
All right, I absolutely will.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll put you in the forum. Okay. Do you have MAPS Anabolic? I asked you that too, or to give that.
I do have anabolic. I've ran that a few times.
Okay. Okay. I want follow that program through this process. I think that'll be the best one for boosting the metabolism through this process.
Yeah, and I want to hear more about the dietitian that you end up landing on, because I don't want you on intermittent fasting. I don't like that
I
idea.
think the NCI coach will be way better.
Yeah, keep us posted, Andy.
All right, I'll do that. Absolutely.
All right, man.
You got it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. I appreciate people like that, right?
Yeah, no, I knew I recognized him right away, and I'm like, I know I've talked to this guy a lot, and it's the NCI group. It's crazy, right? Dietitian, right? So many times, we're not dietitians, right? So,
it's the medical system. They work within the system, and they're not taught. It's starting to change, but they're not taught to really work with the root behavioral issue. They're more like, oh, do this attempt, don't eat this, eat that. And it's like, that's not the issue.
It's so crazy to me though. Like, it seems, I guess maybe it seems so obvious. If somebody has a history of abusing a substance, they're struggling with that nutritionally, the idea of you restricting
it more.
Yeah, restricting their eating window. The idea that you're not gonna, like, this is an example of where I love like 6 meals a day. Is he never allows himself to get really
better approach.
Yeah, and they're just balanced, good meals. He never gets really hungry, and like. And then it's easier to stay on the wagon.
It doesn't feel like on or off.
Yeah, versus like, hey, restrict for 14 hours, don't eat. And then when you do, make a really good balanced
choice. So much intensity around those meals.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't need.
I can almost guarantee you that the dietitian doesn't even know those things because they don't know to ask.
That's crazy to me, dude. Okay, think of yourself. If I ever am tempted to make a poor food choice at night, it is always the days where I missed a meal or two in between, and I was working real hard, and now I'm hungry and I'm tired, and I'm like,
impulse levels go way up.
And I'm like, but if I'm like on my shit every 2 to 3 hours, I'm getting a nice little small balanced meal, and I never reach that point of like, oh, I need to eat, the cravings and that feeling. Yeah. So, and then you put a person that's already struggling.
But
come on.
I'll tell you though, I mean, it took us years of working with people and failing to figure out, what we're communicating now. Because you gave this guy to me in the first, 7 years, 8 years I was a trainer.
Yeah.
You got to do this, you got to do that.
You're just thinking calories.
And it took me a long time of failing clients, a long time before I started to piece some of this stuff together. And it's going to be hard. Andy, if you're watching this, it's going to be tough. But, if you go on this journey one step at a time and try to address the root, which is more painful and more challenging than just watching your calories. Okay. Yeah. But if you focus on that, you'll get there. You'll be on the other end of this.
Next caller is Maggie from Colorado.
Maggie, what's happening? How can we help you?
Hi guys, this is so cool. Thank you guys so much for having me.
You got it.
So my question is, I'm a high school athlete, track and field. I'm a sprinter, and I also just weight train for fun. And I drink upwards of 4 gallons of water a day, and I'm a relatively small person, 5'4", 120.
Wow.
And I'm still, I still have every symptom of dehydration. My urine's dark. I am so thirsty all the time. I crave salt. I am like so thirsty and feel like depleted during my workouts. And I drink the LMNT. I feel like I'm doing everything, and I'm still just so dehydrated, and I don't quite know what I'm doing.
Okay, so, Maggie, real quick, you're sure about the 3 to 4 gallons of water?
Yeah, I have one of these, and I'm sure it's about 3 to 4 gallons. Yeah.
Okay. When's the last time? I don't want to scare you. Okay, but when's the last time you went to your doctor and got a full checkup, got your urine and your blood looked at?
Every time I went like 2 months ago, and they said everything was good, and they just said that I needed to just keep staying hydrated. But it's like a nauseating amount of water.
Okay, I would go back.
3 to 4 gallons is insane.
I would go back. I would go back. Say it again. I'm tracking my water. Here's a problem. The problem is you're a young girl. You're an athlete. You look fit, so they probably think you don't know what you're talking about. So they're probably she thinks she's drinking enough water.
Yeah.
But she's not. No. I want you to go to your doctor. And you're going to use these words. Okay. I was here 2 months ago. I'm back. I am tracking my water. I am drinking exactly 3 to 4 gallons of water a day. Here are my symptoms, and my urine is dark.
And I'm taking the element to
And I know I'm getting enough sodium. I need you to send me to the right people to do some tests, because this could be a wide range of potential things that I'd want you to check before I give you any advice whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to tell you to drink more.
Okay.
If you're drinking that much, so what are your symptoms? Muscle cramps, fatigue, dry stomach. What are they?
Yeah, I get really fatigued during my weight training and my sprinting. Obviously, that's when I usually drink the LMNT, is when I know I'm going to be sweating a whole bunch. I just feel thirsty all the time. Like I said, my urine's dark. I crave salt. I eat really clean, so I know I don't get a lot of salt in my diet besides salting my food, and I just like crave an insane amount of salt. And muscle cramps, especially in my legs.
Here's two places I'll point to. I want keep these in mind or write these down. Definitely tell your doctor your symptoms. Tell them, be very clear and confident. I'm tracking my water, because otherwise they're gonna dismiss you. And get your thyroid. I would have them look at your thyroid, and I'd have them check your blood sugar. Okay, those are two places I'll point to, but I'm not a doctor, and it could be many potentially other things. It could also be nothing. But if you were my client or my daughter, I would 100% be like, we're going to the doctor, and we're going to run a bunch of tests, to figure out what's going on. Because I don't think this is you're not getting enough water and enough salt thing.
Of course it's not. No
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is too alarming for that.
And then please email back in and follow up with this, because I want to know. I want to know this. I've never had a client that could drink 3 to 4 gallons in the first place, especially a 120-pound client.
Yeah.
That is insane. When I was at the highest level, 240-pound, trying to drink and push as much water, I could get to 3 gallons. That was like insane to do that.
Do you notice any muscle?
Yeah. No, it's like,
Do you notice any muscle weakness, any random fatigue that kicks in, anything weird?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. I tend to, because I have caffeine before my workouts, I tend to get through them, but I always notice by the end, I'm like, I feel like I've been walking in the desert for 3 days. I also just get randomly fatigued. Like, my friends think I have some kind of narcolepsy, because I will just fall asleep. Like my fatigue is very hard to regulate.
Okay.
If that's any indication of anything.
If you could go and get checked out like today, I would do that.
Yeah.
And then I want to follow up.
Yeah, don't wait. I go today if you can, and have them look. And if they're, if he's like, well, where do you, he or she's like, where do I, say, I want to be checked. I want my blood sugar to be checked, and I want my thyroid to be looked at. But also list the symptoms, tell them what you're drinking, and list all the weird stuff that you think that might not be connected.
You also need to let them know about the element, because that's a lot of sodium. They might think she's low sodium because she eats healthy and she's running so much. Make sure they know you're.
They'll check her urine. If your urine's dark too, and you're drinking all that, make sure you go. Yeah, I would go like today if you can. She froze. That's okay.
You can text.
She
her
got the message. Yeah. Make sure you send her that,
bro. I have never had a 120-pound female client that could drink 3 to 4 gallons.
I don't want to scare her. Look, I'm not a doctor either, okay? But
the thirst thing, the thyroid was definitely something.
I would look at thyroid. I would look at potential thyroid issues or potential diabetes, because one of the signs of when your body starts to really become insulin desensitized is you just get like unquenchable thirst. The random fatigue could be something autoimmune that hasn't been diagnosed.
I didn't ask about her blood pressure either.
I mean, dark urine with that much water. I would look at kidneys. I would look at liver. But that's not something that is within the scope of,
that's way
out of our pay grade.
I know enough to know.
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
No.
I hope she emails back and gives us feedback, because I would love to hear what they.
No, it just reminded. Well, in mine was a blood pressure issue, but it was just so crazy, like the discrepancy of potassium and how that dropped so quickly with me, and so it's like there could be something there. Like I had like a tumor that was undiscovered. Right? So there's just things you need to test when there's an abnormality like this.
Yeah, there's something going on, and so they need to. She needs. This is where medical doctors really have tremendous value. So.
Yep. Our next caller's Giacomo from Arkansas.
Giacomo, how's it going, man? How can we help you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Man, I recognize my people from a mile away, especially with a name like that.
Hey, my fellow paisano. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man.
All right.
What's going on? How can we help
Awesome.
you?
Well, before I get into my question real quick, just want to do the obligatory thank you to all that you guys do. I've been following you guys, started listening to you guys in college in May of 2019. And you guys have helped me so much, not only with my own fitness journey, but with my clients' fitness journey. I've been a personal trainer on and off since about 2020 when I graduated college. And yeah, you guys have mentioned it before on the show, like effective communication, like communicating effectively messages to your clients. Like you guys truly have helped me with that, not only with my clients, but also with my friends and family. So I really do appreciate all you guys do.
Thank you, man.
Right on.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna jump right into it. So I'm preparing for a professional football combine on May 27th. This combine will have scouts from not only the NFL, but the Canadian Football League, the USFL, and the XFL. I have to perform a series of drills, testing my agility and quickness at the linebacker position. I currently weigh 220 pounds, sitting at about 13 to 14% body fat. My goal is to add 5 pounds of muscle while also decreasing body fat to be at a solid 225. Want to look good, of course, but my main thing is performance. It has to be on point for this. I'm starting to been tracking my food for about 2 weeks now. My goal is 225 grams of protein and 3,500 calories in a day. I've been consistently hitting my protein, sometimes a little bit more, but not my calories. I get anywhere from about 3,000 to 3,300 a day usually. I'm about to start working with a track coach about 2 days a week this week, and I've been lifting consistently 3 days a week. It's going to be 4 days this week. Been following this program the last 2 weeks that one of my friends sent me, who's also performing in a similar combine, just to help get me stronger. So 2 questions, I'll read them both, and then you guys can both answer them here. First question is, can I still see muscle and strength gains if I eat my protein, but not my calories? Why or why not? And then my second question is, if I'm over my protein every day, but just under my calories, what kind of effect will that have on my performance goal and in preparation for this combine?
Oh, yeah.
Cool questions.
Yeah, really good question. Okay. Can you still see muscle and strength gains if the calories are too low, but the protein is high? Yes, but unlikely.
Especially for him, because he's not like a newbie guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, like somebody who's just getting started, you'll start to see some, you can see these type of gains and benefits, but someone like you, probably not. Now, from a performance standpoint, this may be a little different, because if your performance is relying on your strength to weight ratio, sometimes you can lose weight and lose what's called absolute strength, but actually gain relative strength, right? So let's say my deadlift goes down 30 pounds because I drop a bunch of body fat, but now I can do 10 more pull-ups. Well, my relative strength in the pull-up went up, my absolute strength in the deadlift went down. So this is going to depend on, what you're getting tested for, what your performance is looking like in regards to that. Now, the second part of the question was, would the low calories but the protein affect your performance? Well, yeah, you need the calories for energy. Protein can also be used for energy, but protein, think of it as like repair and rebuild. But if your calories are too low, then your body's not going to use the protein to repair and rebuild. It's going to use it for energy. So even though your protein's high, now your body's burning it for energy because it's not getting enough energy from carbohydrates or fats.
And it's not an ideal source. It would rather have.
And it's not a great source of energy. Carbohydrates are much better. So calories matter too. So you want to hit those calories as well as the protein.
I want to find out, you said you're running a program that your friend gave you. Like, what does that entail? What does that look like? What does your week schedule of workouts look like?
Okay, so this week will be consistent. It's an upper lower split. I'm doing basic compound movements. Yesterday was a leg day. Hang clean squats, RDLs, and then today will be upper body. Shoulders back, a little bit of arms, and then another lower body day. So 4 days a week lifting. I was following a 3 day a week, standard full body routine. And then Tuesday, Thursdays, I'll be working with the track coach in the afternoon. I'm actually out here in Arizona. Doug, sorry, I don't know where Arkansas came from, but I'm out here in Arizona training in the heat. So,
Okay.
And then Saturdays I'll be training as well, doing the drills, because I got an email from the Combine Association of the drills that I'll be performing. And so every Saturday for the next 6 weeks, I'm 6 weeks out. I'll be performing or be practicing those drills on the weekends there, and then it's looking like 1 to 2 days of rest a week.
Wait a minute, Giacomo. Before you switched to this, you were just doing 3 days a week of full body.
Yeah.
So it was more so. It was 2 days. So kind of more background. I played. I just finished up my semi-professional football season in the league out here in Arizona, in Phoenix, and so we just finished our last game of the season. We lost in the playoffs. Was on Saturday, so I was really just doing a unilateral program that I've done before, and just maintaining my strength. So this is like the first week of me actually like getting after it in the gym with my training, just because I was in season still playing my semi-professional season.
It feels to me like you're adding too much all at once with your new routine, because you're going from full body workouts in season, and then you're going to jump to 4 days a week, strength training plus 2 days a week,
and track skill,
and then
trying to add on top of that.
You're going to probably burn yourself out, especially after coming out of season.
Yeah, I'd probably keep
the 3 day a week would have been better,
or the 2 even. I would probably keep what you're doing.
Yeah, go 2 days plus the other 2 days you're going to do in the track, and that'd probably be good. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean that, and like, so what's your desired outcome? You said you wanted to gain like 5 pounds of muscle before this. Like how focused are you on performing at your highest ability for this combine?
I'm giving my all into this, 150%. I've been wanting to play pro football since I was a kid. Just never kind of just decided to do it now. I have nothing to lose, and so yeah, I'm going to give it my all, and like obviously want to be at the ideal weight for my height and my height and weight. And so 225 seemed like the solid amount, just from what I've been researching myself and what from people have been telling me.
Okay. Yeah. Just cause I know that there was a sweet spot for me in terms of being lean and being able to move as explosively as possible. And do you know, like, so 225, that's like a range that you've performed in at a high level before?
Yeah, well, yeah. So this is, it was about 220, 225 at the start of the season. I hovered around 215, 220 during the season here in the winter and going into spring in my previous season. And so, but especially it being, professional football, I definitely want to make sure like my strength is there, but also want to make sure that I'm also moving well and performing well at the same time.
I guess my challenge is that I know a lot of these combines, it's very heavy on speed. So less so on strength and less so on, your size. That's something that they can build and develop while you're on the team. Like for me personally, I would lean out and try and get as fast as possible and explosive as humanly possible.
So and relative strength.
Yeah, and that benefits relative strength, like Sal said.
Right.
You may not have your best bench ever or your best deadlift ever, but for your strength to weight ratio, I think that, and I agree with what little experience and knowledge I have of preparing somebody for something like this, is that, if we put too much focus and emphasis on trying to get you bigger and stronger, it could affect your 40, it could affect the explosiveness, your ability to rotate and take off.
You don't have that much time, I guess, in the frame. It's like May 27th, right? So I'm just trying to think, logistics with that. Like, I'd be as focused as possible with your speed, your speed power and really bumping that up with your explosivity, and then get a little leaner. And so you're moving real quick out there.
You would be surprised too, coming out of season, because you're playing games, you're already lifting 2 or 3 days a week. You'd be surprised that you'll probably gain some muscle by doing less versus doing more. You said Tuesday. Okay, so you were saying 4 days a week lifting, and then you said Tuesday and Thursday you were doing. What were you doing on those 2 days?
Those days I'm working with the track coach for about an hour and a half. It was last week. I had my first session with him. It was about an hour and a half, 2 hour session almost.
So 2 days a week it's on the track, an hour and a half to 2, and then Saturdays. What was Saturdays?
Saturdays is I'm working specifically on the combine drills. So that's like the position work itself.
Bro, I'm going to give you 1 day a week of strength training to add to that. That's it. 1, 2 max. And that'll because you're gonna overdo it. Everything you're doing that you're trying to do, you're gonna overdo it. And I know why you're excited and you're like, I want to throw everything out.
Let's get it all done.
But I mean, 1.5 hour to 2 hour days on the track outside in the heat at your size, that's a lot. The one day, and then you're doing the 1 day a week of the combine
All
drills, which is a lot.
Yeah, explosive.
I mean, 1 day a week of lifting is what I would probably do, especially coming out of season. And it would be a basic compound lift day where I'm doing like 4 or 5 exercises, 5 by 5, nothing to failure, just focusing on technique, form, and getting, trying to get stronger. And that's where I would start.
Yeah.
You could always add more, but that's where I would start.
Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying. I'm definitely one to I love the gym, and I've been lifting since that. So I'll be 28 actually in a week, and I've been lifting since I was 14. And I've grown a passion for obviously training, and I love being in the gym. I love it, but I'm not I know when I'm overtraining, and I know when I'm undertraining at the same time. It just feels like, obviously been in season, I just feel like I'm undertraining, and I want to gain strength, and it felt good to get after it in the gym yesterday, and my body feels relatively good coming out of season this last game. But I hear what you guys are saying, and so I definitely, obviously, I'm going to listen to you guys because I believe and trust you guys 100%. And so I think that sounds good. 2 days a week is actually will definitely be perfect.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, and then if you want to do extra stuff, do you have MAPS Prime Pro? Do you have our mobility stuff?
So I do not. However, Adam, don't freak out. I've followed the MAPS Prime Pro and Prime webinar.
Okay. All right. You get a pass. You get a pass.
I'm gonna send you Prime Pro, so you'll have some mobility stuff you can do if you want to just do more stuff.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. I've definitely even with the Prime Pro webinar, I'll refer back to it with not only myself or even show my clients, send it to them if they need some extra stuff. But I prime with that before every lift. I do the combat stretch, the 90-90, all that fun stuff. So,
awesome.
And then
I really do appreciate it, guys. You guys rock.
Yeah, and then if you wanna pick us up at the airport, we'll be there in about 5-6 hours.
Yeah, we're coming out.
Hey,
there.
I got you. Hey, no, for real, I got you guys.
Adam wants to race.
Adam, I saw your Instagram story actually earlier before I hopped on. So you guys are gonna be in Phoenix for a couple days seeing Jason. It's hot. Bring your sunscreen.
Yeah, that's all I brought.
I'll be lathered up.
Booty shorts and tank tops. That's all I brought. So we're good to go.
Yeah, man.
Good. Absolutely. Hey, appreciate you guys. Honestly, keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, best of luck.
Hey, you keep us posted, please. Keep us posted on how the training's going and stuff like that. I'd love to hear how it goes.
Yeah, 100%. We'll do. Just through the email here.
Yeah.
Yep. That'll be the best way. They'll make sure it gets to us.
Sounds great. Yeah, we'll do, guys. Thanks again.
You got it, man. Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot. He was adding up all the stuff he was doing. I'm like,
and to Justin's point, this is such a short notice that you don't want to try and make those huge moves.
So what are they looking at in the comment? Because I heard your comment,
Justin. Cut, the 40,
shuttle run.
It is all
shuttle run. It's all running. It's all
there's a bench
explosive.
press.
But that doesn't weigh that much.
No, they're again the coaches aren't looking for that, because if you look at it from a coaching perspective, what can you build in the off season with your athlete?
That's right.
You can't build is speed.
That's right. And reactive, being quick.
And speed is what wins games. These athletes don't understand. If you just get faster and more explosive, everything else you can build within the
100%, bro. If he did his research and saw that probably the average best NFL guy at his position is 225 at whatever, it's if they see him, they'd rather see him at 210 and fucking blow everyone out the door speed wise, and because they know
first to the ball,
because they'll know this guy's about 10 pounds underweight. We can bulk him up in the off season and put some weight on him if he's got natural speed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So I agree with you, especially with this short of notice too. We're more likely to fuck him up by trying to add a bunch of strength and weight to him.
Yeah, it's going to slow him down.
Yeah.
Check it out. If you like the show, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guides. We have free guides that can help you with a lot of health and fitness goals. You can also find all of us on Instagram. So Justin is at mindpumpjustin, I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam is at mindpumpadam. Today, we're going to teach you everything you need to know to build a strong, well-developed chest.
When I think of weak points and areas that I struggled with developing for a really long time, chest was up there with the
it was for me. It was for me for sure. I got more caught up in the weight I could lift versus how I was developing my body.
I think it's one of the most challenging muscles to develop for most people because the form and technique.